The North Central wrestling team fell to the #2 ranked team in the nation, CCIW rival Elmhurst College. But with the conference championships only days away, we see how the team hopes to hit their stride at the right time, right now on the Cardinal Report. Welcome to the Cardinal Report. I'm Marc Dahlquist. Joining me to start things off this week is head coach for the wrestling team, Kevin Bratland. Coach, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So obviously a tough meet you guys had against Elmhurst College. You have a young team, but it had to have been nice getting some of those guys' experience despite the loss to the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, Elmhurst definitely has a good team this year, and I was pretty proud of my guys. That they are a younger group, but I felt like they went out there and they fought hard, and they didn't give up easy points. I think just Elmhurst had a much more experienced team than we do at this point. So, but it's a good growing opportunity for us to see such a great team and knowing at what level we need to be at.
Yeah, a lot of veterans on that Elmhurst squad. Yep. A number of guys that are ranked near the top, some top 5, top 3. And those could be your guys, in a couple of years, because when you want to be the best, you're gonna have to wrestle the best.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. You want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So.
And so, what was it about Elmhurst that you thought, let them excel to get to that level and, basically have this powerhouse team in the CCIW?
I think I don't know. I think it comes down a lot of times to recruiting, coaching, those types of things. Things, a little bit of luck. Things have to fall together at the right time, and they have a large class of seniors right now that have stuck in their program for the last handful of years. They got a couple or a key transfer, and which is always good. And so that's kind of where they're at right now with that. So
well, hopefully the Cardinals will be working their way to that level pretty soon. The Cardinal Report was there to see the team battle some of the best wrestlers in the nation. Let's go to the highlight.
North Central College wrestling with the tall task of facing the #2 team in the nation, Elmhurst College. Kevin Bratland's squad was also without their top wrestler, 133-pounder Nathan Fitzenrider. At 141 pounds with North Central trailing 10-0, John Williamson trying to pull an upset nearly gets a takedown against #3 ranked Ryan Early. Early would sprawl and eventually get a takedown before this near fall made it 4-0 Early. He would win 9-0, putting the Blue Jays up 14-0. Next up at 149 is Cardinal Nathan Siegel, trailing 3-2 in the third against Max Lozano. He looks to finish the single. He would crawl through for 2 and the lead. Now tied at 4 in the waning seconds. Siegel is the aggressor with the clutch single leg takedown with 5 seconds left. He would win 6-4 and get the Cardinals on the board, trailing 14-3. But the Blue Jays' upper weights were too much, with Yusef Al Ghul scoring a pin against Jake Powers at 165, and nationally ranked Danny Balderas here on the takedown, and Mike Benefiel with this near fall scoring a major decision at 174 and 197. Before Benefiel's victory, the top 184-pound wrestler in the nation, Blue Jay Joe Rao, lived up to his ranking, leading 12-2 in the first, uses the legs and a power half to pin Vince Maroney at 256, and helped the Blue Jays complete a CCIW regular season sweep with the victory over the Cardinals 41-3.
Coach, you mentioned the Blue Jays have a lot of senior leadership. Your senior leader unfortunately couldn't wrestle that day due to personal reasons, Nathan Fitzenrider. What was it like not having him on the mat? I'm sure a lot of people were expecting him to have a really big matchup with the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a match that we wanted to wrestle. They have a tough guy at 133 that we haven't seen before. We could have seen him the weekend before at the Pete Wilson, but Elmhurst chose not to wrestle him at that time. So it's unfortunate, for Nate that he wasn't able to wrestle. But it is different, him not being in the lineup. Especially we had to give up a forfeit at that weight class. Without him being there. So it kind of just a different feeling. I still think that our guys responded well. So I think it was okay. Obviously better with him in there.
Right.
But I think we still wrestled hard.
And you mentioned the Pete Wilson Invitational. Elmhurst actually DQ'd from that, from not being at the weigh-in on time. So your guys really could have got a chance earlier to see what some of these Blue Jay wrestlers were like, and the outcome could have been a little different.
Yeah, it's a tournament where there's a handful of teams, Elmhurst included. They don't always bring all of their starters to that tournament, for whatever reasons. They obviously have their reasons. But yeah, something happened to where they didn't make the weigh-ins the second day. So the guys they did bring, then couldn't wrestle either, unfortunately, for I guess everybody, and for them.
But you guys had a nice showing for the Cardinals. Nathan Finstenrider comes away with another championship, his third one in 4 years, and the only reason he didn't get that fourth one was because of an injury last year. Yeah,
Gabe Ewell was the only four-time Pete Wilson Invitational champion. Nate, obviously could have been a four-time Pete Wilson champion, which says a lot for North Central Wrestling. If he wouldn't have hurt his elbow that year before where we injured defaulted, he could have been the second four-timer, so that'd been pretty cool.
And Nick Santos had a nice wrestle as well. He comes out with a 4-2 record over the weekend and a 5th place finish. It's got to be promising for that.
Yeah, I think anytime you can place at the Pete Wilson Invitational, it's very promising. It's a tough tournament, over 30 teams, some Division II schools, so you're on the right track if you're placing at that tournament.
And it's been you've had a lot of tournaments you guys have gone to this year. Obviously, the record is not where you'd like it to be, but we've said it's a young team. It seems like this team's really progressed throughout the season, though. Earlier in the year in the dual meets, you guys were maybe only scoring in the single digits in points, but as of late, you've either been winning or making them close.
Yeah, definitely some growing pains in the beginning. I think, teaching people the mindset of how to win, and being a winner, and I think sometimes that takes time, depending on what your background is from high school or from youth wrestling. You don't always know what you're getting when they get there, and you teach them a certain style and a certain philosophy, and you got to, I guess, motivate them to buy into that. And once they start buying into that, then you start seeing progress and you start seeing results, and we're starting to get to that point where those guys are buying in.
And where do you think the progress is showing most for you as a coach? Do you think it's with guys sort of wrestling to the other team's technique, or using their own skill set to come away with victories?
I don't even know if it's so much the technique, that separates those guys. I think it just comes down to a certain mindset, a mindset that they need to have in themselves when they're out there. They need to be confident, and knowing that they can go out and wrestle hard for 7 minutes, and using that. And we stress conditioning a lot of times in practice, and knowing that you always have that, so you can go hard and you don't have to pace yourself, and just turn into a fight out there and get after it.
Well, hopefully the confidence continues to grow. Don't go anywhere, because we continue to break down the Cardinals with Coach Bratland right after this.
Loaves and Fishes Community Pantry provides more than food. We provide hope. With your help, we can provide food and hope to children, families, and seniors in need. Please visit us online to find out how you can join us in the fight to end hunger in our community. Loaves and Fishes, the power of community to change lives.
Welcome back to the show. With us still is head coach for the wrestling team, Kevin Bratland. Coach, we were talking about the progress throughout the year. Nathan Finstenrider, he's had some progress, but he's done it at 2 different weight classes this year. What was the motivation for you as a coach to drop him from 141 down to 133, his more natural weight?
Yeah, I think he had spent a lot of time building up a lot of strength over the summer, thinking he wanted to go 141. Obviously, he did go for 141. After watching him, evaluating him wrestling at that weight class, we had some conversations, and even our coaching staff had conversations, and we just felt that he was more dominant at 133, using his size and his length. It's something that he's always had and always used when he's wrestling. When you start going up weight classes, people get taller, people get bigger.
Right.
So instead of having that height advantage, you don't necessarily have that as much. But he still got that, still has that strength from over the summer. But even talking to him over this past weekend, the guys just feel smaller, and that's an advantage.
And last year you held them out of some meets because of injuries or just resting. Have you done that this year as much?
We have not. Last year was due to an injury. That's why he sat out for so long. He hurt his elbow at the Pete Wilson Invitational. He was cutting down to 125, which was a considerable, drop. To make that weight class every weekend would be pretty taxing on him and probably myself to watch him go through it and do it. But so this I think 133 is where he wrestles his best. He's at his potential at 133.
And it's paid off. I mean, he's climbing up the victory and pins ranking as we speak.
Yep.
So right now he sits 6 behind Gabe Ewell in career victories and 5 behind Joe Pope for pins. Do you think he's got the potential to reach that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're both within grasp. You know, I look at that as just like a, you know, it's a good accomplishment. I don't look at it as the end-all be-all. I think it's nice to, you know, right now he's basically leaving his legacy of what he wants to be and to leave at North Central. So, you know, when he's done here, he'll probably be the name at the top of the list. And, you know, and hopefully with that, you know, we're going to the national tournament and, you know, and being a national champ. You know, we've only had one national champ ever in North Central College history, back in 1969, I believe. And, you know, I think that's our goal. That's Nathan's goal. And, you know, we hope for the best in that.
And it's easy to see a legacy when you look at stats, but
Yep.
What has he brought to this team, and especially the young group of guys that you can't see, that doesn't show up on the record?
Hey, just even things you don't realize, just even talking on the way over here, just we were discussing like his losses, and he's only, you know, lost twice ever, like in the regular season, I believe. Not counting his true freshman year
Right.
when he was injured after he got a medical red shirt for that year. But he's only lost twice ever, and is at one tournament to the same guy. You know, so that's a pretty big deal. You know, in Division III record.
Right.
So,
and they say you can learn a lot about somebody from when they lose as opposed to when they win. Well, how has he bounced back from those losses? Only twice.
well, those ones, I don't know. Those were pretty. I feel like they were so early in the season. Those were pretty insignificant. I think the ones that stick with him in regular season losses, I don't know how much they stick with people. I think the ones that stick with you are like the national tournament losses, national finals losses. You know, those are ones that, you know, I'm sure he thinks back to his sophomore year when he was #2 seed and, you know, didn't place in the national tournament. Those are things that motivate and drive you, and, you know, that's something that you're not going to let happen again. And so you get yourself physically ready, but, you know, a lot of it's just your mental mindset and where you need to be, you know, going into this year's national tournament and, you know, going to the finals, you know, this year. It's going to be a different mindset. It's going to be it'll be a feeling that he's already had before. He's had experience doing it, and, you know, and I don't think it'll be a big deal this time.
Yeah, the national tournament's still a couple weeks away, but first you guys have the CCIW tournament. What do you think the Cardinals can do? I mean, we saw a very good Blue Jay team, but what do you think the Cardinals can do to hopefully get some points and make some noise in the conference?
You know, I don't know. The conference is pretty interesting with 4 teams, and now Augustana, they've redone the regionals and the qualifiers, and so Augustana is not even in our regional. So it'll be an interesting conference tournament. You know, there's 4 solid teams in our conference. You know, compared to years before. But I think on an individual basis, you know, we have guys that not only need to, but will go in there and you know, wrestle well. And there's with some potential victories, they'll solidify some seeds, and I think that's important for us right now.
Well, we wish you guys the best of luck in the postseason, Coach. Go get them.
Thank you.
Don't change that channel, because after the break, we welcome in 2 Cardinals who are hoping to bring home some hardware in the championship season. We'll be right back.